That's quite big. Impressive. Ooh, that's kind of small. Yikes.
Hello there everybody, my name is Supersonic Blur and welcome back to another theory crafting video. Today we are going to be looking at just how much of a maximum potential we can pull out of the most mana possible. And for that we're going to be using Kukulkan, whose passive is aptly the more mana you have, the more power you have. Specifically, 5% of his mana is going to also be converted into magical power for him. So that's pretty fantastic. The more mana we can get, the better off we will be. So the reason why this is going to be such a predominantly Kukulkan face thing is A, it synergizes best with his passive, B, Kukulkan's just fun to play, and C, I wanted an excuse to play Kukulkan. But the build is going to be aptly known as the well-read build, and the reason for this is because you are going to be simply buying everything that's in the spellbook tree, and I do mean literally everything. Book of Thoth, not only is this going to give us a boatload of mana at about 1050 mana, but it's also going to give us the passive of another 5% of our maximum mana is going to be converted to magical power. So essentially we're doubling down on Kukulkan's passive. Soul Reaver also gives us a fantastic passive of doing even more damage to people, which is fantastic, along with a boatload of mana. Polynomicon gives us a little bit of lifesteal and sustain, not to mention as well the passive, meaning that when we hit someone with an ability or a basic attack after using an ability, we do 75% additional scaling onto that, which, given this build, don't be surprised if you don't see a number below, or sorry, you should be surprised if you see a number below about 500, which is a lot, I'll say that now. And finally, Book of the Dead, which means that if we get aggressed on as Kukulkan, we're going to get a huge health shield if we drop below 40%, which in turn should give us enough time to reposition, cry to our teammates, or just outright kill the other person. So while we don't necessarily have a lot of health in this supplements that well, giving us huge amounts of health. Like, genuinely, you'll see just how much health we end up coming to with that. But now that we have those 4 items, we have 2 others that we need to look at, and we need to work on a build order for those. So let's go in and see what we can do for that. Starting off the build then, this is going to be something that's very interesting, and there are a couple of different options you can do to start with. Given the most recent look at the Smite World Championships, we found that a lot of supports and frontliners are going to be building the Oni Hunter's Garb as their sort of first main item, which is great for them. It's mitigation and magical protection. Unfortunately, it's not quite so great for the mages, who kind of always like to be the haha, we still do loads of damage early because you have no protections, haha, sucks to be you. Oh, now you do. Damn. So for this, a lot of the times, Book of Thoth is being dropped as a straight rush item. However, in this case, you can still also buy it as its tier 2 and leave it at that. Once you've got the tier 2, you can then finish your boots, which we're going to go for Shoes of Focus, not only just to give this CDR, but it's also going to mean that we end up with a little bit more mana, another 250 to be precise, and some cooldown as well, so get that. Then from here, Spear of the Magus is a good one to pick up. The reason why we're picking up Spear of the Magus so early is because it's just fantastic. You fight this against the jungler who doesn't have any magical protections, they cry. You fight this against the frontline who has magical protections, they cry because they do also still lose a huge amount of protections. The item itself is fantastic, and a lot of times you'll see people will actually pick this up alongside more penetration like Obsidian Shard, but that's a video for another time. In the meantime though, we're going to go back on the rest of this build. So we have this tier 2 of Spellbook here. What are we going to put that into? Well, you've got an option here. You can put this into Book of Thoth right now. It's not a bad place for it. It's good to get the stacking early. But again, it is a slower option for these kind of things. You have to get those stacks going. So because it is somewhat slower, you can find that sometimes people will opt out of it. Otherwise, you could even go for Soul Reaver at this point. By using the Soul Reaver passive, you enable yourself to do even more damage, get some more burst on, and because you have penetration as well, you can get through it as well. So Soul Reaver early isn't a bad option, as you'll be able to get more out of its actual damage numbers, because it is affected by the mitigations of magical protection, so you can get that now. Either way, once you've got the Soul Reaver or Book of Thoth, you're going to pick up the other one. That is just a simply fine idea. You want to get more mana going. We already have our penetration sorted. And then lastly, honestly, Polynomicon and Book of the Dead, you can kind of intermix the two of them. I personally like getting Book of the Dead first, just because it feels nicer to have the Book of the Dead. It's slightly more expensive, yes, but you are getting that health shield, which should mean you can stay alive more, which means you can farm more, which means you can stay alive more. So from that regard, I like picking up Book of the Dead next, and then finally rounding it out with Polynomicon. This is one build option you can go for. Other things that you can look at are actually going to be, say, screw the Book of Thoth. We're going to get this last item when it's very easy to get the stacks online. It's very easy for us to just, I can one-shot the wave immediately, it doesn't matter. So for that side of things, we're actually going to go for the Mage's Blessing. Even though it was nerfed, we're still going to pick this up just because it's a bit of mana sustain on it, which especially is useful for Kukulkan. And we're also going to start with Tier 1 of Spell Focus. This enables us to get that little bit closer and quicker for our Spear of the Magus. Once we've got those two items, first thing we're going to do is we're going to back for Boots, then we're going to get our Spear of the Magus straight away. This is a very high damage, early aggressive potential that you're going out for here, and this works wonders, especially on Kukulkan, who wants to try and just set it and forget it with his tornado. Set it, move on, go somewhere else, and farm something else. So if you can do that with Spear of the Magus early, it means that you can hyper farm very hard, push aggressive side of things, and be much faster than you would with necessarily the Book of Thoth. Once you've got those two, Soul Reaver's the next item you're going to go for. You get the Soul Reaver online, you get his passive going, you want to be aggressive, you want to be looking to try and really turn the screw on how much damage you can do. Then from there, it's going to be the Polynomicon. You get Polynomicon early. Again, you want to just burst people down. If you want to get off to a good start, you can just burst them down. Then Book of the Dead, and then finally Book of Thoth. Yes, Book of Thoth is one of the last things, but the idea here is that if you guys are starting to scuffle around like the Fire Giant pits and things like that, you can quickly throw your tornado out at the wave, at one of the two waves either side of it, either mid lane or solo side, and then you can just return up and still do a huge amount of damage to it. And those are the main sort of two option things that you're looking at. Now, what exactly does this build give us? Well, this build comes out with 827 magical power, which is, not gonna lie, a lot. That is a big, sizable, chunky kahuna of that. That's a huge amount of damage. When you have Zephyr, which, you know, Zephyr is doing huge amounts of damage immediately, Whirlwind's ticking huge amounts of damage. I mean, Zephyr, roughly with this build, you're looking at over 700 damage on a 6 and a bit second cooldown. Whirlwind, you're looking at 140 damage per tick, and you can get, what, like 6-7 ticks or something like that. Maybe, I think you can you go up to like, is that like 12 or something? I don't know, I don't think it's that much, but you can get like 1,000 damage on Whirlwind if they sit in it. Spirit of the Nine Winds is going to do over 1,500 damage just flat out on a 63 second cooldown. So there's a lot that you can really do here. But not only that, we also get 3,215 mana. Now, why am I being so, oh my god, that's so much mana? Well, remember that health shield that Book of the Dead's going to give us? That's going to give us 600 and about 643 health shield for 6 seconds. Given the fact that we have less than 1,800 health at 1,725, that's literally giving us that's giving us 33% more health. That's fantastic. That is a huge potentially saving grace there. That is fantastic. Not to mention the 12% lifesteal that we're also going to get. We're also going to get 50 penetration 50 magical protection reduction and 15 pen, equating to about 65. So anyone who has no magical protections will take true damage from you, which can include things like the Polynomicon shot, which can, with the 827 damage. I'm actually just going to do the magic of the calculations, because my brain is not good enough to do the numbers, and I'm stalling for time here. But 827 divided by it's 827 times 0.75. Yeah, 620 damage on a Polynomicon proc. Now, this also will proc on towers, so you can slipstream, hit towers for huge amounts of damage, like 400 damage a basic, with the Polynomicon proc. This means that not only are you transitioning from I do loads of damage which kills people, but Polynomicon also means that the tower structures damage that you do is fantastic. I mean, you're looking at about 228 damage on basic attacks, scale it back to about, I don't know, 175, I don't know, 150, something like that, plus 400 from Polynomicon. That's pretty good. That's really fast, strong burning of objectives. So this build enables you to not only blow people up, but structures and objectives as well. So because of that, you can really try and levy this offensive capabilities of Kukulkan. Other pros about this, your Kukulkan, you have the option to farm highly aggressively early, and you can make rotations not necessarily faster than anyone else, but because you can just set down the whirlwind and move on, and it's going to be there and clear the wave, that's 2, maybe 3 seconds of time where you are not in lane, moving somewhere else, which means that you have a 2 or 3 second head start on getting the mid camps, getting the back harpies, making a rotation to the oracles, ganking a lane, wherever it is you want to go. You have a 2 to 3 second head start against your lane opponent, unless they've already cleared their wave. But even then, you can just kind of set it and move on and forget it. The issues with this build: it is very expensive. Very, very expensive for a mage build as it currently stands, at 14,300 gold. That is a little on the expensive side. Not only that as well, but it is very slow and lacking utility. You don't have the sort of controlling nature of things. Your zone denial is these tornadoes do a stupid amount of damage. If you step in them, don't step in them. You don't have that much cooldown either. You only have the 10%. And also as well, penetration wise, yes, you have the 50 flat reduction and then the 15 pen, which is great, but frontliners are still going to have some magical protections. They're still going to have more than you're penning through, so you won't get as effective amount from them. But that being said, this build is just stupid fun to do, especially in Conquest. If you can get away with it in Conquest, this is just so much fun to do, and I hope that you guys do enjoy running it. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this build, and any success stories or tips and things that you have with regards to this build, and how you found that you've used it. Again, I want to pool information. I want to get a place where someone can turn up and be like, hey, I need some information on this. Oh, here's the build, here's how someone's done with it, here's some alterations that you can make to it. That all sounds pretty good and awesome. So yes, that'll be a thing that we're doing. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Supersonic Blur. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. You guys have been a fantastic audience, and I shall see you all next time.